Welcome to the BumbleKast. I'm your host, Ian Flynn, the Bumble King, and joining me as always is the honorary crew member, Kyle Kraus.
Hey, I am honored by you.
To be on the crew.
To be here.
Oh, the good old SS AcademX. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. How are you, sir?
I'm doing pretty good. Been busy lately. Just passed a somewhat minor milestone. I kind of consider it minor. Episode 275 of my other show, Nitro Game Injection, was just this past weekend while we're recording. And I'm pretty excited about that. I think that's a lot of shows.
It is a lot of shows. That is something to be proud of, sir. Congratulations. If you've not listened to Nitro Game Injection, do it.
Yeah, if you like video game music, I'm not going to, spend this whole show tooting my own horn, even though... Isn't that what we're really here for? No, I'm just kidding.
Pretty much. This episode in particular is horn tooting, yes.
Okay.
So trumpet, sir. Yes. Let them hear you all the way in Gondor.
Oh, yes. 275 episodes of Nitro Game Injection. That's not counting the 208 episodes I've done of Game Fuel, my other show that I've retired, which is practically the same show as Nitro Game Injection is now, but we'll ignore that. I went through recent restructuring, kind of unified everything under one name. But yes, 275 episodes of NGI. And if you like video game music and video game music remixes in particular, go check it out if you're ever so inclined. It's got a lot of awesome music on there.
Nitro Game Injection is the reason why I sought Kyle out to do the BumbleKast. So if you've enjoyed this show, the reason it's because Kyle makes it work, and he makes Nitro Game Injection work just as well. So go check it out. That's kngi.org.
You're not the only person who says they've been inspired by me doing a show, which is a little weird to me. I don't know why.
You put out a quality product, man.
I'm very thankful that you think that.
I know.
I'm very grateful, and I'm very grateful to everyone who listens, and I'm very grateful to everyone who has enjoyed it enough to be inspired by it to do like their own shows or to do things related to it. That's really freaking cool. So thank you. And also everyone who enjoys this show, because this show is a ton of fun. I love this show.
I'm so glad you do, because you're in this for the long haul.
Yeah, I'm stuck. I can't leave. Ian's got me chained. Ian's got me chained to the desk, so I literally cannot leave. How about you, sir? What's been going on in your world?
Well, the most recent thing is we launched the Kickstarter for a brand new comic project called AcademX, which we're going to get into in just a little bit with the president of the publishing company, INT Publishing Company Incorporated, but we'll get to that in just a minute. Still getting ahead of myself, but I'm super excited for it. So, okay, breathe, need a distraction. Let's do the Bumble Raffle.
Yes. Let's give away free stuff to our awesome listeners who give us money on patreon.com/BumbleKast.
Now, the Bumble Raffle is the contest we have every show. Everyone has the same chance to win. The winner, is picked completely at random. The only difference is our patrons over at patreon.com/BumbleKast get automatically entered into every single drawing, while everyone else needs to email us at bumblecast@yahoo.com and enter in for each and every episode they want to compete in. Otherwise, same chances. So, this episode's winner is...
Today's passenger. Not yesterday's passenger, not tomorrow's passenger. Today's passenger.
We're going to be shooting you an email with your prize. Congratulations.
Awesome. What are we giving away these days? I don't even know anymore. maybe
it's still comic related, but now it's a bit of a surprise.
Maybe
the Bumble Raffle has become a mystery.
Okay, cool.
But it's still free comics when you get down to it.
Okay, sweet. I wasn't
free
sure.
Comics related to the show.
I wasn't sure anymore because unfortunately we've kind of run out of the physical, the physical goods for now. Maybe we'll get a new stock of those one of these days.
But okay, we settled all the main stuff. Can we get to the main topic now? Can we do the interview? Can we talk about academics? Can we?
Do it now.
All right, everybody, join me in welcoming the president of INT Publishing Company Incorporated, Mr. Tarek Kusa.
Hello, everybody. How are you doing?
You sound so formal. Relax. This is an easy show.
Well, you gave me such a formal introduction, Mr. Vice President of the Universe.
I'm not vice president on the show. I'm just co-host. We're all casual here. So thank you so much for joining us for this special episode of the BumbleKast as we promote AcademX. For the folks at home who are brand new to all this, because it's a brand new project, tell them just a little bit about yourself, where you're from, what is it you do, what's your sign?
Well, to put it all together, I've been a primary junior teacher with the public school board system here in Ontario for about 8 years. The bulk of that time I've spent running graphic novel clubs, different kind of media clubs with children. I've done some educational consulting on the side for different products and services, and my zodiac sign is Cancer.
Ooh, crabby. So, AcademX was your brainchild. Really, you're the one who got the ball rolling on this. What was the idea behind it? What was it that made you go, yeah, let's do this thing?
So the biggest push in education that I foresee in the future will be for careers that are in science, technology, education, and mathematics, hence the acronym STEM. I have 2 children, a little boy named Hamza and a little girl named Ashal, and I sometimes find myself pondering, what will their life be like 20 years from now? Will they be going to college or university, or will the job market be something completely different? And if so, I want to make sure that both my children, as well as the children that I teach, are adequately prepared to face these challenges as they move forward.
Now, when we were first starting this project out and testing the waters and seeing, if we were on the right track, you took some of the early concepts for the stories and the art into some of the classrooms for the kids that we're going to be aiming at. Or at least kind of the younger side of things. But, get a general feel for if we were on the right track. Tell the kind folks at home, what was the initial response to the little focus groups you did in the classrooms?
So from what I gained in talking to children about the types of media that they would like to see and be involved in, I got a lot of positive feedback for comic books and graphic novels, and kids aren't just wanting to read words on a page. They want a story in which they are part of that tells a vivid, imaginative story that's full of graphic imagery that kind of appeals to all the senses, their sight, their hearing, their smell. They want to be a part of the literature, as well as feel it intrinsically as part of them.
And I just want to note that when you say graphic, you mean as in terms of graphic design, not like R-rated gore fest.
No, AcademX is geared towards children between 8 to 14 years old. That's roughly grades 4 to 8. And like you're saying, when I'm saying graphic imagery, I'm talking about graphic design. They want graphic design that is cutting edge, that that has art that really pops to them, kind of thing. And they don't want it in a juvenile sense. They want it to be pretty mainstream, like the things that you're seeing out there currently right now.
They want to be treated like equals, not like children.
And that's where I'd say AcademX is a lot different than any other product that's out there. Is we are creating a product or we've created a product wherein children are able to look at it and not feel like it's a textbook or it's a piece of educational material that's being put in front of them. Academic Space Crew is a full-fledged, personalized comic book wherein children can create their own character and really become part of the story.
Now, you were talking about the art earlier. We went through a number of artists to decide, what we wanted in terms of the look and the feel of it. And we settled on Adam Bryce Thomas, who I've done a lot of good work with in the past.
Really talented artist.
So you were mentioning the art earlier, and we went through a number of artists to test the water, see what we wanted in terms of style and tone for the book. And we settled on Adam Bryce Thomas, who I've done a lot of good work with in the past. What were your thoughts when you saw the first bits of concept art come through, the final designs for the crew, the early page art that we've got on the Kickstarter, all that stuff?
So first, a really big shout out to Adam. He's a really talented artist and a great guy. I was really impressed with what I saw. Adam did an amazing job bringing the AcademX universe to life. What was once a figment of my imagination, he took a really grounded and whimsical approach to giving and breathing life into these characters. I think Adam did a really good job in defining each character not by gender, but by personality. And for those of you who are not familiar with Academic Space Crew, we have 5 support crew members that fulfill STEM-related jobs on board the ship. And just by looking at the characters, you get a pretty good idea of what their role is on the ship. So thank you so much to Adam for doing that.
Now, the Kickstarter that we've got running right now for, when this episode airs, I think another 39 days? Math is hard. This is why we need to do AcademX.
41 days to go.
All right. It's to set up the website because it's going to be really complex and it gives you all the options, and it's just to get number 1 even possible. And then once that's up and rolling, we can churn out more issues after that, and everything will be lovely and streamlined and whatnot. So that's the immediate goal for us. But what is your grand vision? What's the long game for AcademX?
So for me, I would say Academic Space Crew, we plotted a really well thought out plan and trajectory for where we would like to go in the future. I see AcademX becoming a really personalized comic book for children where, because they are able to name their character, personalize their protagonist, make sure that the gender is something that they can relate to. They're able to choose that ethnic diversity by selecting skin tone and really making that character someone who resembles them or an alter ego that they may have embedded within themselves. I see children and tweens, kids between 8 to 14, really jumping on this bandwagon and liking the fact that they're not having to relate to a character, but instead they are sort of liking or in love with the character to begin with because they've created them. Their alter ego or their personalized character is created through their imagination and brought to life through our website. So I see really big implications for what we're doing in the future. In terms of future editions, I definitely see AcademX going for a couple of rounds, and if it's up to me, it'll be something that will be here for a while.
And I'd love to see it branch out into academic supplemental materials, classroom materials. Move it into games, move it into cartoons, really franchise this thing out if this strikes big,
Definitely. And I do believe that classroom connection is really strong, as all the academic issues are based on science, technology, and mathematical curriculum.
All right, so we haven't really released anything yet. It's very early on, but you have to pick right now who's your favorite crew member.
That's hard to say, but if I had to pick one, I think it would have to be Bunsen. It's between Bunsen and Hammer, but Bunsen, I think, really comes off as really comedic, and I think he actually reminds me a lot of you, Ian. And Hammer, I kind of see myself as Hammer because he likes to tinker. He's always looking into how he can improve the ship and always meddling with all his gadgets. So it would be between those two. And then definitely my favorite female character would be Aurora, the pilot of the ship, as she's navigating around through space. And I think she has this really strong persona, where she comes off as confident and strong and knowledgeable in what she's doing. And, she also has this fearlessness to her.
See, I've got to have a toss-up between Captain Quark and Cypher.
Yeah.
Just because Quark is an utter badass.
Yeah.
And Cypher has that dry, deadpan kind of aloof humor that I'm a sucker for.
Yeah, Cypher, you could really tell whether or not she was a cat. That is her spirit animal kind of thing.
Alright, so, last question. For those who are listening to the show and are kind of on the fence on whether or not they want to jump on board with this, what do you have to say to them to get them to come over to the academic side of the Force?
So, what I think a lot of people should really know about Academic Space Crew, as well as it having this STEM focus as the backbone, driving it as a STEM comic book, Academics has a lot of forethought put into it. We talked a lot about gender balancing and equity for girls and what it would take to get girls interested in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, as well as what it would take to get boys to really start to break down some of these negative stereotypes that exist in the workplace, in the educational field about girls in science-based careers. And with Academics, I think we've done an amazing job with having a girl who comes into the story, creates a female character, and having that gender ratio of 4 girls to 2 boys that really sets the tone and environment for our reader, wherein she's surrounded by these strong female presences that are uber confident, that are super knowledgeable in their STEM fields. And really, I think it's encouraging to young ladies. I know definitely when I show my daughter this material, she gets super excited, and it's something that I want her to know is always a realm of possibility for her. And even though STEM occupations are heavily dominated by males, I think in the future we're going to see that push of women breaking down a lot of those barriers and getting more into those STEM fields. In terms of boys who come into the academic universe and create a male space star agent character, it sets the gender ratio to 3 male characters and 3 female support characters, which I think does a really good job of showing gender balance in the workforce. And it allows boys at a young age to see that although we have really cool male characters, the supporting cast that are female are equally as cool. And Cork being our captain of the ship and commander-in-chief, like you said, she's a real badass, and she comes off as really confident. And letting boys know from a young age, it doesn't really matter if your leader is a male or a female. What it really comes down to is knowledge and expertise, and good leadership qualities, which Quirk exhibits all the time. That's what I think people should really know Academic stands for. We're not just about the educational aspect, we're really about getting kids involved and intertwined in understanding who they are and their place in the academics universe and in the real world, to be frank.
And I think to further quantify and clarify that, it's not like this book is preachy, and it's not like other edutainment where the educational elements are kind of forced to the forefront, where it's like, here is the thing you're learning, boys and girls. everything that we do with academics, from the gender and racial equality to the educational side, all of that is packaged within the story.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't beat you over the head with it. It doesn't wave a flag saying, "Look how progressive we are."
And I think
it's the
that's
natural state of the world for these characters.
Yeah, and you bring up a really good point, Ian, and I think that's what makes us really different than the edutainment that's out there. We're not forcing lessons upon children. The science, technology, and engineering themes and concepts that come up are inherently part of the storyline. So children are actually learning about things that they would already be exposed to in the classroom environment, but it's done so in a storytelling way. And the story is actually more important than anything else. It's what gets the kids interested and entwined in the academics universe.
It's a universe that we wish we lived in, where everyone is equal and everyone respects one another, and we have giant talking animals.
Exactly. The anthropomorphic characters really sell that point. But I believe it's a safe space for a lot of kids who are in those in-between years. They're not quite children and they're not quite teenagers. They're really trying to figure out who they are. And academics lets them put their knowledge to the test as themes and concepts come up, but it immerses them in this fictional world where they are the superstar, they are the star hero, and they're the ones saving the day at the end of each issue.
And even if you don't want to contribute directly, I understand for everybody times are a little tough. If you can't, donate directly to the Kickstarter, we greatly appreciate spreading the word. Because the whole idea about crowdfunding is you need a crowd to fund it.
Definitely.
So, tweet us, Facebook us, spread, at least, point people in our general direction, because that helps almost as much as the actual money. I mean, the actual money helps more directly, obviously. But, word of mouth is a wonderful thing.
Yeah, and with the Kickstarter and everything going on, this is just the beginning. The Kickstarter is pretty much our advanced release before we actually release that product. So I'm excited to see what happens in the long run and as we move forward together with our fan base and seeing where everything goes.
All right, Mr. Kusa, thank you so much for joining us here on the BumbleKast. Best of luck to you on the Kickstarter. Best of luck to me on the Kickstarter. Best of luck to us on the Kickstarter. And we'll see how it goes.
See how it goes. Thank you so much, Ian, for having me on.
Have a good one.
Take care, buddy.
So, thank you again, Mr. Kusa, for checking in with us. We are going to move on now to the Q&A.
All right. If you want to ask us questions on the Q&A segment of this program, you can email us at BumbleKast@yahoo.com, on Twitter using the hashtag BumbleKast at IanFlynnBKC or at KyleJCRB, or via Patreon comments or messages. This first question comes from the priority Q&A over on patreon.com/BumbleKast. At the $5 level or above, you can ask questions on Patreon and get ahead of the line. This first one comes from John B. I was reading Shattered World again, and I could not help but notice the scene when Nagus transformed into Sonic to try to mess with Amy was similar to a scene in Full Metal Alchemist when Envy transformed him to Hughes to mess with Mustang, and both characters did not get their desired effect. Was this a coincidence, or did you take influence from that scene?
Going to chalk that up to coincidence, mostly because, one, it is, and two, I can see the similarities, but the scene in Full Metal is definitely far more dramatic, and the one in Shattered is played much more for laughs.
Mm-hmm. That was, I know you're a big fan of Full Metal Alchemist. Does that be like...
it's brilliant. It's fantastic.
Been like a subconscious influence. Maybe just...
not to psychoanalyze myself, maybe, but it was not a
thing,
conscious
but you weren't thinking
effort
about it.
Part.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't go in there going, I'm going to totally rip off this great scene and use it for a joke. No.
All right.
Maybe it percolated in the back of my brain, but it was not a conscious decision on my part.
Alrighty. Next one comes from our good buddy, Sam Cybercat. Do you think Rotor and Lady Walrus are related?
You know,
Who's Lady
all
Walrus,
the walruses.
by the way?
Walrus?
Sure. Who's Lady Walrus, by the way?
Lady Walrus is one of the villagers in Hedgehog Village. She has one or two little babies, and I can't remember if she's related to the villainous male walrus or if it's just a coincidence, but they all have very similar facial structures to Rotor. They all have this kind of gray purple skin with tannish body,
Mm-hmm.
to the point where people were drawing parallels very early on. Now, I can't say with any degree of insight whether or not the Sonic Boom team took inspiration from Rotor's design, but it is so close between the two, it does make me raise an eyebrow.
Yeah.
But there's nothing I can confirm or deny because I have no idea. But it is an interesting parallel.
I guess some certain design aspects have kind of been codified within the Sonic franchise, so I don't know, maybe. And the last priority Q&A comes from Mike B. Speaking of Mr. Rogers from the last episode, what would a Sonic World version of the show be like? Is Sally a fan of that show, given her caring nature, and that she could probably relate a bit more personally with the royalty of the neighborhood of make-believe?
Okay, so complete headcanon spinning off right here.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Rogers of the Sonic World.
Uh-huh.
Can't pick a species off the top of my head. Maybe a dog. Maybe like a golden retriever. Something very cuddly and nice.
Sure.
Show is pretty much the exact same, beat for beat.
Of course.
And all the kids loved it growing up.
Of course.
Little Sonic is looking at the trolley going, I could run to the land of make-believe a lot faster than that thing, but it's kind of cool. And Little Tails and Rotor are looking at going, I could probably build one of those. And Sally's like, oh, so you can be a regular person like Mr. Rogers, or you can be like the royalty there. I could exist in both. And Sally and Antoine go, oh, this is some stranger, but they love me for exactly who I am. No strings attached. That means I can get through the day even though I'm scared or half a robot or whatever. Each and every one of them was inspired and bolstered by Anthro Mr. Rogers, because Mr. Rogers, no matter what reality he exists in, is a fantastic, wonderful, loving being.
Absolutely.
There is no parallel universe where Mr. Rogers is evil or monstrous. He is always the shining beacon of hope and light and goodness.
But he's always a war vet. Was he a war vet? Or am I thinking of Bob Ross? I think I'm thinking of both. I'm thinking of both.
I heard a rumor that he was like some elite sniper in Vietnam, but I'm pretty sure that was just internet fluff.
It probably was. But I know it seems like he would have been at least a veteran. But maybe not. No, maybe not. I'm actually looking this up. Okay, no. He never served in the military. Interesting. Anyway, got a bit sidetracked there. And it's a little awkward in the middle of a show to look up things, but hey, that's what we have the internet.
Yeah, at least we have
an
answer,
Yeah, I wanted to be sure, because I think I was thinking of Bob Ross. But yes, maybe they like Bob Ross too. He's very relaxing. It could be like the Sonic World version of Bob Ross too. Could have that. Anyway, let's get into some of the standard Q&A from the folks over on Twitter and via email and all that good stuff. This one comes from Nick. Is Archie still allowed to reprint Sonic stories? Is all of that dead with Sega ending the partnership?
I have no idea. Like, zero idea whatsoever. That is between Sega and Archie and IDW and people in suits that are way above my pay grade. I have zero info regarding that. I would love it if we could see the post-reboot stuff reprinted one day in some capacity.
Yeah.
But that's personal. That desire. That is no way, business insight on my end. I have no idea.
I just want a freaking trade of Spark of Life. Like,
yep, you and a bunch of other people.
If anything, I don't care. I don't necessarily care that nothing. If anything else happens, I want that. Oh well. Next one comes from Daluna13. If you have the chance to write a solo book for a Marvel and or DC villain, who would it be and why?
Ooh. Some of the Marvel ones that jump to mind, I think, have been written and rewritten and re-explored so many times that I don't think I could bring anything new to them.
Mm-hmm.
I would kind of like the opportunity if they said, here's a C or D list villain. Do something neat with them.
Sure.
That I think would be a fun project.
Mm-hmm.
DC, no hesitation, Riddler.
Oh, yeah?
Love the Riddler. Would love to write something with him. I liked it when he was a quasi-reformed private investigator, still using all of his quirks to solve crimes rather than commit them.
Mm-hmm.
He was still an arrogant son of a gun, but it was not so bent on making riddles to foil the Batman. But he still works as a villain as well. So no matter what, would love to tackle Riddler because he's my favorite Bat villain, bar none. I also think I've got a fun pitch for a twist on Doomsday to actually give him a little bit more than Superman Smash. But I'm going to keep that in my pocket because you never know who's listening.
You never know. I'd like to write a Livewire book. I don't know why.
She was one of the best new things to come out of the animated Superman.
I've always liked Livewire. She's really cool. So I think of I don't know if she's ever even had like a solo book or anything. Probably not. Which would be a dang shame because she's pretty dang cool. Well, I mean, she's like electric and stuff, so that's the opposite of cool. In fact, probably would.
She has a cool color scheme.
Very warm, yes. But that's true. She does. All right, and the last question comes from Deadpool is Kind. Keeping it in the superhero vein here. What was your first time reading a Spider-Man comic?
I'm sure I had like odd ones floating around here or there, but the one that I remember the most vividly, I forget which version of Spider-Man and which number, but it was the big showdown between him and Eddie Brock. Had a holographic cover, had him squaring down with Eddie, and I was confused going through it because there was a group of people with weaponry that were hunting down Venom, and Peter's parents were alive, and I was like, I thought Spider-Man's parents were dead, and yada, yada, yada. But this one scene stands out to me more than any, is Spidey standing there, and his suit has been torn ragged, and it's clear that he's been through a lot, and he turns around last second because his spider sense doesn't work around Venom, at least at this part. And Brock is standing there in the coolest looking leather jacket uniform that's all the symbiote themed. And Brock is just glaring down at him and says, normally you run from us. And I'm like, okay, don't know all the setup, don't know what everything's going on, but this is the coolest scene ever. And then the biker suit like morphs into the Venom symbiote look, and it's like, this is the greatest character ever. It was either that one or the one where Harry Osborn dies, which was another holographic cover, another, end of a big story arc. And I don't know why I had this issue, but, it was in my hands and it was very dramatic. Not that I understood everything going on in it.
Sure.
But I can't remember which one came out first because I read them both cover to cover endlessly.
I think, honestly, I don't know if I've even read a actual Spider-Man comic.
Really?
Yeah, my first exposure to him, my first real exposure to him, like I knew he was just because he's kind of like that pop culture icon.
Right.
But in the 90s, I knew him from the Fox Kids cartoon.
Okay.
Which isn't a great cartoon. It definitely doesn't hold up as well as the X-Men cartoon.
That's saying something.
I know, because the X-Men cartoon doesn't actually hold up that well either. But it's still entertaining.
In different ways, yes.
Sure. And mostly the Raimi movies from the 2000s was kind of my... Okay. I can't think of a Spider-Man comic that I've really read, because for me, comics outside of Sonic comics is kind of a recent thing. And I haven't read a Spider-Man comic. I've read Edge of Spider-Verse, which was the prelude to Spider-Verse, which I haven't read yet.
Okay,
So
that I have not read.
I am familiar with Spider-Man. I did watch the also the new cartoon, the newer cartoon, not the newest, the Spectacular Spider-Man cartoon, which was really good.
Is that the one with the multiple spiders all running around at the same time? I've lost track of which cartoon is which at this point.
No, that's the one. Trying to think of how to describe it to differentiate it from the other ones. It's kind of like an origin, not an origin story, but it's very early on. It's high school. I don't know. He's just by himself. Really, he's not with anybody else.
Okay, then that's not the one I've seen.
Yeah, Spectacular Spider-Man was like 2012 to 2013 or 2014, something like that.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, it was a little while ago. It's a really good show, though. I enjoyed that take on Spider-Man. So
you mentioned the old X-Men cartoon, and one line in particular that I know has aged well was like from one of the very first 5 episodes.
I'm the Juggernaut.
No. When Magneto's attacking someplace and he's, purposefully doing it to call out the X-Men, hoping to get Xavier to show up. And he's floating there musing to himself and goes, Xavier, after all these years, I wonder how you've changed. A toupee, perhaps. And that is still funny.
That is funny.
The delivery of it is dead on. It is great.
Is funny. That's pretty good.
And this was back when Xavier was still being kind of portrayed as this reserved badass who was very genteel but was still kind of mysterious. So in that episode, after Magneto's trashed the X-Men, Xavier comes out to confront him, and he beats him by forcing him to relive the occupation of Poland and his parents being dragged away.
That's dark. That's dark. Holy crap.
Like, Magneto flees because he is reliving his childhood of being dragged away by soldiers and he can't handle it. That's like,
holy crap. This is back when Professor Xavier was a jerk.
And, nobody called him out on it because he was the professor.
Yeah.
You don't mess with the professor.
Because he'll mess with your mind. Screw with it in ways that will damage you permanently. Holy crap, dude. Man. Basically reliving childhood trauma at one of the worst points in history. Holy crap.
And the thing, too, is like during that period, it was his version of a gentle approach, because otherwise in the comics he just straight up comatose.
Oh, yeah. I've heard about Professor Xavier being a very, very true jerk at many points.
But we have gone way off topic. We're probably starting to run long at this point. So let's close it out. Kyle, where can folks find you when you're not on the BumbleKast?
You can find me at KyleJCRB on Twitter. And you can also find archived episodes of this show and many others over at kngi.org. And you can find my other show, Nitro Game Injection, streaming live every Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on 8bitx.com. Or you can find that one over at kngi.org as well.
You can find out everything I'm up to at bumbleking.com. Find me at Twitter at IanFlynnVKC. And check out everything that's going on with AcademX. Since the Kickstarter web address is really long and confusing, just go to AcademXSC.com. That'll have all the links that you need. Bada bing.
Do that.
Before we go, we're going to give a big shout out to all the patrons who continue to make this show possible. Thank you, everyone, for your continued generosity. Big shout out to Daniel H., Zephyr Flame, Artendi M., Chris A., Damo, John B., Sam Cybercat, Mike B., Connell P., Samuel P., Justin G., Jennifer R., David C., Revan the Light, Diane W., Today's Passenger, congratulations again, Scruffy Matt, Lee H., James G., Chevelle, Dawn B., Clinton H., Sin Fritz, Frogman, Candelicious Cartoons, John M., Eshuvardovich 9X, Alex P., James K., and Ron. Whew, I'm so happy that list is getting too hard to read.
I like and Ron. That's my favorite part.
It's a good way to end.
I don't know why. It's amusing to me Not to say that Ron is bad or anything. Ron is great. You're all great. But it's just funny that it's like, and Ron.
That's going to wrap us up for episode 49 of the BumbleKast. We will see you next time for the 50th episode!
Woohoo! Don't forget about BumbleKast Gaming Live every Friday at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, exclusively for patrons over at patreon.com/BumbleKast. And also, be sure to come back every other Monday on off weeks from BumbleKast for BumbleKast Gaming. See you there.
That's right. And we're out. Good night, everybody!
Bye!
Take me out behind the shed and shoot me.
No, we still have to do the show. After the show,
BumbleKast.
sure, but not right now. Oh, you're vice president of this. Okay.
I am. I got a fancy title and everything.
Wow.
The business that set up our business gave us this big old, armored briefcase I felt like I needed to be handcuffed to, and it's got an imposer and company stocks and all this stuff. I'm like, wow, I feel like a grown up.
That's weird. We didn't do any of that for this. Hey, thanks for listening to the BumbleKast. If you like the show, be sure to hit that subscribe button and consider supporting us on Patreon. We have some great rewards as well as big plans to make the show even better. Also, rate and review the show on iTunes. It gets more folks listening and really helps us out, so we definitely appreciate it. Original music by Ken Coda Snyder, used with permission. Find more of his music at bc.s3m.us and find the theme song at noisechanradio.bandcamp.com. Available as a pay-what-you-want download.
You rolling?
Yep, I've been recording this whole time, so don't worry.
Man.
None of that's going in.
I hope I'm not sniffing and snorting through the whole show.
Why not? That's the mark of a good show.